Welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening for our virtual genealogy program, How DAR Can Help Search for Your Revolutionary War Patriot. I'm Pam Taylor, manager of the Harford County Public Library Joplin Branch. This performance is being recorded and will be available along with the handouts at hcplonline.org on the HCPL Universe page for the next 4 weeks. Now let's get on with the show. We're thrilled to have Bobbi Carleton with us this evening for the second of our special America 250 virtual genealogy programs this summer that will aid you in finding your American Revolutionary Patriots. Ms. Carleton has been an active member of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution for over a decade. She currently serves as Maryland State Chair for Lineage Research. In addition, she is a member of the Maryland State Application Team and the National Lineage Research Committee, and has previously contributed to the National Supplemental Indexing Team and the National Application Verification Support Committee. Her areas of expertise include genetic genealogy, as well as German, Swiss, colonial era, and African American research. She has conducted genealogical research for the Australian television program, Who Do You Think You Are?, and maintains membership in several historical genealogical and lineage organizations, including Germanic Genealogical Society and the National Genealogical Society. That's quite a resume, Bobbi. She'll be using a PowerPoint during her presentation this evening, and you can adjust what you're seeing on your screen by using the screen view in Zoom. Please feel free to submit questions via the Q&A feature, not chat, on Zoom, and at the end of the show, I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. We'd really appreciate if you would take time to complete the quick survey that comes right after the credits. We use your input to choose topics for virtual genealogy program, just like the one you're seeing this evening. So it's time well spent, and it takes just a moment. So thank you for that. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Bobbi Carleton.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Get started here in just a second.
You're good to go.
All right. First of all, let me thank you for joining us today. As you can see on the screen, our topic this evening is how DAR can help search for your Revolutionary War Patriot. During tonight's presentation, we are going to focus on the DAR, who we are exactly. Next, we will go through DAR's genealogical research system. And finally, we will cover some additional resources that you can use to search for your Revolutionary War Patriots, such as Ancestry.com, Family Search, the Maryland Land Records, and the Maryland State Archives. It may take a little more than an hour to go through all of the information, so I do ask that you hold all of your questions until the end. As Pam mentioned, there will be a Q&A at the end. So let's get started. DAR was founded in 1890, and we were incorporated in 1896. Our headquarters is located in Washington, D.C., near the White House, and it is the largest complex in the world that's owned and maintained exclusively by women. The DAR is a nonprofit, non-political lineage society with over 190,000 active members across 3,000 chapters worldwide. Membership is open to any woman aged 22 and over who can prove descent from an American Revolutionary War patriot. The organization has counted 6 first ladies among its members, governors, senators, and state representatives. And beyond preserving history and genealogy, DAR drives major community impact. We fund scholarships, we support veterans, and we donate over $1 million annually to underserved schools, while also holding notable legacies like establishing Constitution Week and pioneering military nursing certification during the Spanish-American War. Established in July 2022, the DAR, SAR, and the Sons of the Revolution Relations Committee strengthens ties between DAR and the male lineage societies and its counterparts. We foster collaboration on community events with them, and we hope to grow the society membership across all parties. DAR members frequently assist Sons of the American Revolution and Sons of the Revolution applicants, and due to the overlap that just naturally occurs between the daughters and their male counterparts, we often get a lot of applications through them. While SAR and Sons of the Revolution share nearly identical aims, they do differ slightly in membership criteria. The Sons of the American Revolution recognizes a broader range of patriotic and civil service roles beyond military, naval service, such as justices of the peace and highway surveyors, which Sons of the Revolution does not accept. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Children of the American Revolution. It was founded in 1895 by children's author and longtime DAR member Harriet Lathrop. The CAR welcomes lineal descendants of Revolutionary War patriots from birth through age 22, and we do train young people to become engaged citizens and leaders. CAR serves as a natural bridge into DAR, Sons of the American Revolution, and Sons of the Revolution, with adult members volunteering as senior leaders and family membership drives spanning generations. Most recently, we're very excited. We had Maryland Governor Wes Moore's family join SAR, DAR, and CAR together. So that was very exciting for them. And now that we've learned about DAR, we are going to move on to the genealogical research system. To access the genealogical research system, first you want to go to our homepage, and that's dar.org. And that looks like this, what you see here on the screen. You should utilize the GRS if you have any United States research that's roughly older than about 100 years old. I've always told people to remember that the GRS exists primarily to help the staff verify lineage from a Revolutionary soldier to the present. And it's heavy on American records, especially in the early years, but it's also heavy on unique records. And it is meant to aid research into American lineages back to the Revolutionary War soldier. Plus, it has resources provided by members and its chapters that you just will not find anywhere else. So what is the GRS? The Genealogical Research System is DAR's free online genealogical portal. Originally, this was an in-house database that was used to help the staff genealogists when they were verifying lineages for membership. And fun fact, it actually replaced the actual card catalog, and the staff had to walk down the hall to actually use the card catalog every time they wanted to look at something. The database provides access to many materials gathered by the DAR since its founding in 1890. As a user of the GRS, please understand that at DAR, the library and the genealogical or genealogy department are two entirely separate and different departments. One manages the library and the other does the work to approve applications and supplementals. As a genealogist, you're probably more interested in the library. Unfortunately, the DAR is undertaking a major restoration of the historic library right now. The entire contents of the library, including all of their books, were moved to offsite storage. And they're going to remain there for the duration of the project, which is expected to last about 12 months or so. The Science Technology Center will remain open to the public and to on-site researchers who wish to use our online digital resources while the renovation is ongoing, but there will be no access to the physical collections during that time by anyone, and that includes the staff. So don't fret over the closure of the library. It just so happens that the GRS is the gateway to genealogical information as well. And that's why the DAR made the GRS public to everyone. Here you're going to find collections of the databases, which are arranged on separate tabs to make navigation easier. These are going to include our ancestor database, our member database, the descendants database, the DAR GRC or Genealogical Records Committee database, the Revolutionary War Digital Library and the corresponding index, Bibles, and resources. And the database contains DAR proprietary information, and I do have to disclose this. Under no circumstances should any of the information that you find there be redistributed to others, assembled, reproduced, published, or posted in any form whatsoever, with the exception of the following: DAR membership and supplemental applications, citation in genealogical scholarship or published works, citing a DAR Patriot name and number in publications and on third-party websites. So let's get started with looking at the ancestor database first. The ancestor database was created by, and like I said, is maintained by the staff of the genealogy department, specifically the Office of the Registrar General. And with few exceptions, the data is taken from verified membership applications and supplemental applications. When a woman joins the DAR, she needs to prove her lineal descent from and the Revolutionary War service of her ancestor. The first ancestor that she proves becomes her original ancestor, and members' original applications are referred to simply as applications. Once she becomes a member, she can submit additional applications on as many Patriot ancestors as she can prove, and these are what we call supplemental applications. And there is no difference in the verification process between applications and supplementals. They all undergo the exact same verification process. The database is dynamic, and that means that the ancestor information is updated in real time. So any changes that are made to that portion of the database, you can see them immediately. Please be aware that the ancestor database is not a comprehensive list of every single individual who served in the Revolutionary War. Remember, new ancestors, also known as patriots, are added as they are proven through DAR membership applications and supplementals. Please note, requests to add any individual outside of an application or supplemental cannot be honored. So we just can't add anyone's name to the database. If you want to add someone, you or an immediate female family member need to apply and have that lineage verified. There are lines that have been closed to membership that you need to be aware of, and these are included in the membership database or in the ancestor database. Researchers should be aware that closed lines and lines that are coded as being in error, they just might not be suitable for DAR membership. So this is an example of what I mean by a closed line. This entry here is for an individual named Metcalfe Bowler, who was born in London, England in 1726, and he died in Providence, Rhode Island in 1789. In the comments section, you can see that information was discovered in the Rhode Island Historical Society's collections, which stated Metcalfe Bowler acted as a British spy. The volume date and the page number of the collection is cited, so individuals can go and review the information with their own eyes. The C data CF at the end of the comment is to see the data correction file for additional information. That's an internal file that's created by the genealogy department to track lineage or service issues. The file clarifies the discrepancies that we find with retroactively altering previously accepted applications. So all genealogists will go back and look and see what's happened over the period of time and why the line was flagged. So now, if you recall, I mentioned closed lines may not be suitable for DAR membership. And the reason why I said this is because, oops. Yeah, there we go. The reason why I said this is because DAR recognizes the last known act of service to the American cause. And therefore, if a soldier was documented as being a British spy in 1778, all services prior to 1778 are not accepted and they're negated. If the individual decided to take an oath of fidelity to the American militia or to the American cause in 1779, and they joined the militia in 1780, that would be considered acceptable service because there is documentation to prove that the last known act to the American cause was taking the oath of fidelity and joining the militia. So you could then apply for membership and hope to get the line reopened by proving that the last act was for the American cause. So the key, once again, is the individual's last known and documented act. So as I mentioned before, the ancestor database is a guide to DAR established Patriot ancestors. And here you can search by the name of the ancestor or the ancestor's child by using one of three search options. And the basic screen that comes up, we call that the simple search or a new search. We have an advanced search, and then we have the child search. Keep in mind that when you're searching, the search results are going to be limited to 200 hits. So if the results don't include what you were initially seeking, you might want to consider narrowing down your search parameters. In the simple search, the searchable keywords pertain to the ancestor. So you're going to have your first and last name of the ancestor, perhaps their state of service, the year of birth or death, the state of birth or death, and the spouse name. And when you're using a simple search, at least one of the following keywords must be used. You must enter the last name of your ancestor, the first name of your ancestor, or the ancestor number if you know it perhaps from a relative's DAR application. These fields, they're marked with a red asterisk, so again, they are required. Here on the screen, you can see we're going to search for the ancestor's last name of Lloyd. And by adding the state of service Maryland, the results are going to be limited to those ancestors who were in Maryland at the time of the Revolutionary War and who list Maryland as the state of their service. Note that the search fields, they're not case sensitive, so they don't have to be in all caps, they don't have to be in all lowercase or a combination of the two. Either one is fine, and then we would click search. And these are the results that we get. We only get 2 individuals who provided service in Maryland with the surname Lloyd, and they've been established in DAR, already proven. One item that should be understood prior to searching the ancestor database is the spelling of the surname. DAR assigns a standard surname to variant spellings of similar surnames, and this is based on the Library of Congress's classification system. It's not something that we made up. We go by the Library of Congress's classification system. And I'm not going to get into all the particulars, but if you're interested in exactly which classification system that they use and how the surnames are classified, you can Google the Library of Congress classification system and learn all about it. The DAR that we use one particular spelling variant over another, it's in no way an indication that the DAR considers that spelling to be the correct spelling of the surname. It's just a classification system. So let's look at an example. One application that I completed for a member who was having difficulty identifying a viable Patriot line for membership was for a Patriot in Charles County, Maryland, and his name was Charles Tyer, T-Y-E-R. So we type Tyer into our last name field, and I put Charles into the first name field, and I type MD for Maryland, the 2-letter abbreviation for the state, into the state of service field. And then we click our green search button, and this is the results that load. We receive a message saying that no ancestor records were found. Well, you can refine your search at this point in time if you click here to refine your search words in blue, and that will take you back to the ancestor search form. But as you can see below that, it actually recommends that I search using an alternate name, and they've listed that name below. So for Tyer, they're telling me to use Dyer with a D. And because this information is in blue, you can click the entry and it will direct you to a new screen. So let's click it. And the page that loads is the sole entry for Dyer, specifically Charles Dyer. And when I look over the information that's listed here, I can tell you that this was indeed the application that I completed and the applicant Charles Tyer that they applied for membership under. Please remember that the ancestor database was created to assist the staff with the verification of membership applications and supplementals, and that is its primary purpose. So using this spelling system, it helps us to ensure that Patriots are not established under more than one spelling or name. It's only under extremely rare circumstances that we will consider making any changes to an ancestor surname spelling. And for membership purposes, members can actually use whatever spelling variant they want for their membership certificates, pins, etc. So it doesn't affect anything other than what actually goes into the database. The scanned images of approved applications and supplementals and of all surviving supporting documentation are not available outside of DAR headquarters, and they cannot be viewed through this database online. You can order a record copy of the membership application or supplemental from the Library Copy Services Office, and please go to the DAR's public website and you can search for Library Copy Services Office and find all the information listed there. If we scroll down on the page for Charles Dyer, we can see the associated applications and supplementals that have been submitted for this Patriot. Each of these entries contains scanned images of the approved application and the supplemental, as well as all surviving supporting documentation. Again, these documents are not available outside of DAR headquarters, and they can't be viewed through the database online. But I will tell you that if the information used in the application has been digitized and it is available on another online site like Ancestry.com, Family Search, Find My Past, My Heritage, and that's just a few of them, DAR will not retain those documents due to copyright restrictions. We will not violate those. Those items are shredded on site immediately after the application has been verified. So items that we do retain and that those that are available as items, they're not available elsewhere online. So for example, these might be pages from a family Bible that somebody submitted for an application, or perhaps an equity case or a chancery case that must be obtained at like the state archives and has not been digitized anywhere else. So if you're interested in learning what is on the application and what documents are included, you can either view the information at the Symes Library at DAR headquarters, or you can order a record copy for $15 and you can purchase the green purchase button that you see here. If we click the green purchase button, the following window will load. And this page will allow you to pay for the record copy. You'll be able to download the information that you get immediately, and you will notice that there is a line that says preview lineage. Lineage is in blue. So before you buy that record copy, let's take a look and let's view the lineage and see what it looks like. This page will allow you to pay for the record copy. I think I already said that, didn't I? Yes, I did. And we talked about that. Okay, so the lineage information used for this application is pulled from the descendants database. That's another one of our databases that we have. And here you'll see that the first 3 generations are restricted for privacy reasons. As a general rule, DAR restricts the information from public view for 100 years. And here in generation 4, the male, he died in 1933, and the female died in 1936. So although this is less than 100 years, technically, the individual has been deceased for 93 years and 90 years respectively. So their privacy is not really in jeopardy of being violated. So again, it's just a general rule of 100 years that we use. If after viewing the lineage information that you take a look here and you say, yes, this is my line, I definitely want to see what documents are in there, and you still want to purchase the record copy, you can do so by clicking that green Purchase Associate Record Copy button and then follow the online or on-screen prompts. So moving on to an advanced search. So if you go to the Ancestor database page, the main tab that comes up, the main page, under search options there on the right side, you're going to see advanced search, and we're going to click that and see what pops up. So you can see the search form actually expands a little bit. A lot of the requirements are the same as the simple search field or the form that we saw before. One of the following fields need to be filled in, just like the simple search, and that's the ancestor last name, the ancestor first name, and the ancestor number, if you know it. Any combination of those fields, you just must enter one of those. The advanced search includes all the same fields, but it adds several others, and those are the rank, the residence city, the residence county, the residence district, the residence state, and the pension number. And residence fields all refer to the ancestor's residence during the Revolutionary War, not where they were born, not where they came into port or arrived in the United States, not where they died. It's where they served during the Revolutionary War. And please note that in some cases, the information may not have been documented. So you might want to consider removing the residence fields if you put that in as a criteria eliminate that from your search, and you might get some different results. So it might help you seek out the individual that you were initially hoping to find. And here are a few tips on searching for residents or by residents. Like I said, the residence, it's got to be during the time of the revolution, not as it is now in present day, okay? Not as in where the boundaries of the area they lived in are today. In other words, where they resided between 1775 and 1783. And as an example, if your ancestor was from Maine, let's say, Maine was a part of Massachusetts until 1820. So residents of Maine during the Revolution, you're not going to find them under Maine. They're going to be under Massachusetts. So you want to make sure you're looking in the proper place based on the boundaries at that point in time. Provinces of foreign countries, they're going to be listed in the district field. And an example of a province would be like Quebec in Canada. You're going to want to avoid using punctuation. We all know Prince George's County in Maryland has an apostrophe S in George's. So instead, you would just type Prince George's Co. and no punctuation. So no apostrophe, no period after county. You just enter it in, just the letters. Always start with the largest jurisdiction, and you're going to want to narrow down your search accordingly. For example, you're going to search on Smith as the ancestor last name and South Carolina as the resident state. Well, you're going to get a lot of results. You're going to get way more than 200 results, I'm sure. And if the results are too large, start narrowing it down. Like you're going to want to add the district or the county. So always try narrowing it after that. Moving on to the child search. Again, if you go back to the Ancestor Database main page, under the search options on the right, there's a choice for child search, and we're going to select that option. Now, the child search allows users to search by the child or the child's spouse. It's particularly helpful if you don't know who their parents were or you don't know the patriot's name. It will display all relevant hits. And so as an example here, we're going to use Robert Lloyd. He was born in 1785 and he married Mary Ruth. And we're going to start with the male in the first name and last name field, and then you put the female spouse in the spouse's first name and last name. Now, the child search can be used to see if an ancestor has been established with a son named Robert Lloyd who married Mary Ruth. Now note, the search results are conditional. The search will only reveal the child of an ancestor if a descendant of that child has had an application or a supplemental application approved. Now, if the search is unsuccessful, you're going to consider searching for known siblings. So maybe somebody else applied under a brother or a sister, perhaps. Also, again, all 4 fields of this search have the red asterisk. This doesn't mean that all 4 fields must be entered in your search. You just need to enter in at least one of those fields. So for our search for Robert Lloyd and Mary Ruth, the results yield 10 applications where the Patriot's son was named Robert Lloyd, who married Mary Ruth. So as you can see, there is only one verified ancestor, James Lloyd rather, who had a son, Robert Lloyd, who married Mary Ruth. If this is the couple that you're seeking, you can do one of the following. You can click on any of the national numbers to display the DAR member's full record. You can click on James Lloyd to display the ancestor's full record. You could actually click on Robert Lloyd to see the child records with Robert as the first name. You could click on the SIM in parentheses to the right of Robert Lloyd's name to search for records with the same first and last names. And you can click on SIM to the right of Mary Ruth's surname, or Mary Ruth's name rather, to search child spouse records with the same first and the same last names. So let's select James Lloyd and view his ancestor record to make sure James Lloyd was in the same area where Robert Lloyd was born and where he resided. If you want to verify that this really could be your ancestor's father and your potential patriot, that's what I would recommend doing. Now, in the ancestor database, you're going to find 4 additional search options. overview and help. Now, initially, there were almost no help features for this site. Some were just static pages and they were constantly like going out of date. So today you're going to find the information icon, that's a little eye with a circle, and it will actually link you to a page that provides additional information. If you've never used the site or you can't recall something, this is going to be very, very, very helpful for you. I highly recommend utilizing it. And recent, if you click on recent, you're going to see which ancestor you have viewed. So if we clicked on this button, we would see that the ancestor information for Metcalf Bowler, Charles Dyer, and James Lloyd all shows up on a page because that's what we searched for. Now, previous, if you click on previous, you will see the ancestor you viewed prior to the last ancestor search you conducted. Since our last search yielded James Lloyd's ancestor record, by clicking previous, you will see Charles Dyer's ancestor record because this was what we viewed prior to James Lloyd. Now, refine search. If you click refine search, you will be directed to the search form for the last individual that you were actually looking for. So in our case, we click refine search. We're going to see a child search form for Robert Lloyd and Mary Ruth because that was what we last searched for. No, it's a little confusing, but if you use them a couple times, you'll see and you'll catch the hang of it. And that concludes our information on the ancestor database. So let's move on to the member database. To access the member database, after you select GRS on the DAR's homepage, you're going to select member for member database. By using a member's national number, one can search not only the line of descent that the qualified individual used to join the DAR, but also additional lines of descent that were verified through supplemental applications. On the right, you will see the search options box. It says new search and advanced search. In the member database, both of these options will only allow you to search by national number. The member search is limited in order to protect the privacy of the society's members and for security purposes. If you don't know the member number, you're going to need to search in the descendants database. If you do happen to know the number because you've had a relative join and they gave it to you, or your mother gave it to you, you found your grandmother's papers, whatever it may be, any national numbers that are lower than 600,001, the member's name is going to be shown in the results. But if the national number is greater than 600,000, so if it's 600,001 or higher, the member's name is going to be restricted. Once again, that's for security purposes. So for purposes of this presentation, let's just assume I enter the number 11 into the national number and we click search, the green search button. And these are the results that we get. We can see that Mary Conde Ringgold's profile, her national number was 11, and she actually belonged to a chapter in Washington, D.C. She applied to the DAR under ancestor William Washington. So it was right there. And he's listed under the heading descendant listings. If Mary had submitted any supplementals to recognize additional patriots in her lineage, they would be listed here as well, but she did not. So she only had one patriot that she recognized. If you click on William Washington under the descendants listing, the lineage information used for her application, like I said, it's going to get pulled from the descendants database. And if you scroll down on the page and you see her ancestors information, that information actually gets pulled from the ancestor database. So from here, if you want to purchase a record copy, you're going to click the green Purchase Associated Record Copy button. And if you want to view the ancestors record in the ancestor database, you would click William Washington's name or his ancestor number in blue. And those are both in blue beneath that Purchase Associated Record Copy button. To the right of the ancestor number, you're going to see two icons. When you select the purple icon, you are going to view the ancestor's full record in the ancestor database. And when you click on the red icon, let me see here, there we go, now they're working. You click on the red icon, you're going to view all of the descendants listings for this Patriot. And again, that information is going to be pulled from the descendants database. So the purple icon is the ancestor's full record, and the red icon is the ancestor or the descendants database. Next, we're going to move on to the descendants database. To access the descendants database, after you select the GRS on the DAR homepage, you can select descendants for the descendants database. The descendants database is an index of every name on the lineage page of each approved application and supplemental. You can search for anyone in the lineage, not just by the Patriot ancestor or the member. So anybody in between the two, you can search for. The purpose of the database is to help anyone who is looking for a DAR Patriot line to find a viable Patriot line for membership. Please note, any national numbers that are below 100,000, the applications may have incomplete or multiple lineages. If the Patriot you're interested in falls into this group of national numbers, and these would have been the first individuals who actually joined DAR, it's best to order a record copy and actually review all the pages of the application and what they submitted. The requirements at that point in time were a lot different than they are today. So you might need to find additional information. They might have something that's incorrect because it's been digitized today and you found it, what have you. But just make sure that you purchase a record copy and you review everything. Using the simple search or the default search screen, you can actually search the last name of the individual you are seeking or the spouse's name of the individual that you are seeking. The last name field must contain an entry because it is a required field, and you can see the red asterisk there. If you're not sure of a spelling, families use different spellings at different points in time for various reasons, but you can actually choose to enter in a partial surname. So if we don't know which spelling of the surname they use a wildcard. You can use an asterisk, which actually tells the search engine to fill in the missing letters. So here, if I search for Elizabeth Carleton, but I'm unsure which surname spelling of Carleton that she used, I would just enter C-A-R-L and then put the asterisk, and then I would click search. I'm going to get results for Carleton with an E or Carleton without an E. I'll get other results too in the surname that are listed there. One is Carlisle, maybe that might show up because it's C-A-R-L-I-L-L-I-S-L-E, and it starts with C-A-R-L. You may use a question mark for a single character or a wildcard. For example, if we search the word woman, and we, instead of using a vowel, we did W-O-M question mark N, the database is actually going to give you all the results for a woman with an A or women with an E. So you're going to get both of those back. So again, consider using the wildcard if you can. The results are going to be grouped by Patriot. You can do that by Patriot, member, or you don't have to use any groupings at all. Another way that you can sort the results that get returned are by the last name of the husband, the spouse's last name field, the birth state for the husband, or the death state for the husband. So depending on what you do know or what you don't know, you can kind of sort your results accordingly and go through them. There's also an advanced search that allows you to search jointly by the husband and the wife. The name spellings, they're going to be just as they were on the application that was submitted. So you do need to be creative sometimes with the surname spellings. If you have trouble locating information that you think should be there, and you just can't find it, and you've tried like every possible spelling known to man, you might want to just reach out to someone in a local DAR chapter, or if you know someone who is a member of DAR, and and they might be able to help you find out the information. And again, you have the option to group your results. You can actually group them by the Patriot, again, the name, or no category at all. And then you can also do this, the same sort by categories that you did in the simple search. Next, we're going to talk about the GRC. Since 1913, the DAR's Genealogical Records Committee has coordinated a nationwide effort to transcribe and actually preserve previously unpublished genealogical records. And this has resulted in 20,000 typescript volumes, and they've all been contributed by local chapters of DAR. This collection, it's one of the most unique and one of the most valuable in the DAR library, and it's actually fully digitized, and it is available through the NSDAR library and the Science Technology Center. So to access the GRC, after clicking GRS on the DAR's homepage, you're going to select GRC for the Genealogical Records Committee database, and this will give you a direct link to the GRC National Index. So this is the page that you get, and we call this the GRC National Index. It's an all-name, continuously growing index. It is not connected to membership applications. So if there's somebody that, you know, a name that hasn't been used in an application or supplemental, you actually may find it here. And this helps researchers locate unique genealogical records, and I'm talking about gravestones, Bibles, personal papers, letters from family members written way back when. All kinds of things are in this collection. And again, these are submitted by DAR members across the entire United States and the world. And often you're going to document ancestors from other states. With over 20,000 volumes indexed so far, the index, it does provide the name, the volume, and the page number. And even though the images remain offline, you can, like I said, go to the Science Library to view them, or you can actually contact library services and they can help you get a copy of the actual record or the image. So the simple search screen for the index is pretty straightforward. State, you can search by all states, or you can limit your search to a specific state in the drop-down menu. Remember, however, that limiting the search in this way, it's going to result on you possibly missing out on information that a relative who is living in another state submitted. Surnames, the field is required for any search that you conduct. They have to be entered into the search field the same way that they're going to appear on the index. So again, you might need to be creative with the spellings. Try a couple of different options. If you want to search with just the surname field filled in, so you can view all reference to individuals in the index with that surname, you're more than welcome to try that as well. First names, they're going to be entered into the index as they appeared on the report that was being indexed at the time. So again, be creative with first name spellings, which you wish to search. Sometimes you might have to sound out a name phonetically and kind of what could somebody possibly come up with, play that game and try it. And you might get some results and be shocked by what you can find. The show book titles and the show book subjects, those are toggle buttons for yes or no. You can turn these on or you can turn them off based upon your preference. And then the start by, you may have the results sorted by last name. You can sort by first name, the state. You can search by series or volume or page number if you know those. Each of these selections can be used to help refine the search and arrange your results in a more helpful order. Now, the advanced search screen for the GRC index, it's located on the right side under options. The advanced search screen is the same as the simple search screen, but there are two fields that are added, and that's going to be the series field and the volume field. So if you know the series number within the state set, you can enter that information. And if you know the volume number, you can narrow the search down that way as well. If I conducted a search for Frisbee Lloyd, let's say, I would enter Lloyd into the surname field and I would put Frisbee into the first name field. And during Frisbee's lifetime, I know he resided in Maryland. He never left the state. So I could select Maryland in the state drop-down field, but I decide I'm not going to, just so I can see if there's anything else out there in the GRC or, that's been submitted from other states that I might find. And I click the green search button. And this is what I get. There are 7 results that I receive, and the information that you can see that gets provided, it's the state from which the GRC report came from, the name of the person in the report, the 2-letter state abbreviation, the reference to the series number, the volume, and the page. And for the first result, it says California, Series 1, Volume 170, page 35. You will notice that there is one entry at the bottom from Cecil County, Maryland, and the subject's line states it's a newspaper record. Well, there are plenty of other sites out there where I can get old copies of newspapers, so I'm going to just disregard that result. There's a good chance that I can find whatever is in a newspaper. I can probably find it on another one of my websites. 6 of the entries, though, are from California, and they say miscellaneous records in the titles, and the subject lines state California genealogy. Now, this could be anything, and I'm curious, so I'm going to click catalog, and we're going to see what we get. And this is the screen that actually loads in a new tab in my browser, and it's an entry created in the DAR library catalog. It's for the California GRC report, Series 1, Volume 70. You can see the information there. It's available at the DAR library as a digital format. It's also in other locations. And if you select the arrow to the right of other locations, it'll drop you down further on the page, and I kind of put it here in the box. But you'll see it's in the library as a digital file, and it's currently in storage in the bound California GRC report from 1983. It's also available online at the Symes Library. So I could go to the library and view it prior to buying it, and I could print it out on site at the library if I wanted to. But if I wanted to purchase the document at home, I could place an order through the DAR library's search service. Now, going back to our results, there was a page number to the left of Frisbee Lloyd's name. And you can see that there in the red box. We can view all of the names that are listed on the same page as Frisbee Lloyd. And this could give me more clues about what this information in the GRC is. So we're going to click on that 35 and see what we get. And we get a new tab, and it opens up in my browser, and it displays the list of the names that are on the same page as Frisbee Lloyd's name. Now, when I look at this list, which is partially shown here, I immediately know that some of the individuals that are listed here, they're Frisbee's children. And I compare the list of names against my family tree that I have in Ancestry. And yes, I confirm that those are his children's names. Now, I also know that Marie Hartnett, Christopher Columbus Lloyd, and Frances Marion Lloyd, well, those are Frisbee's siblings. If I didn't know what this document was and I wanted to obtain the image of the information, again, I would order it from the DAR's library services, or I'm going to go to the Symes Technology Center and I'm going to view it and print it out and take a look at it there. So if you're thinking that these could possibly be family Bible entries, you're going to be correct. Now, here are the images that are actually associated with that GRC index entry. It is indeed for Frisbee Lloyd's family Bible. My cousin actually applied to DAR back in January of 1981 and submitted the family Bible to prove one of the generational links that was needed for her application. Now, I was with her when she actually took these photographs, but if I didn't have them and I didn't know about them, and I just looked at the listing results that I got, and I saw that they were California entries, and I ignored it, I might have missed out on this. You need to keep in mind that, your ancestors had children and they had brothers and sisters and they had grandchildren, and people spread out and moved across the United States. And not everybody stayed in the same small town or on the same farmland. So when they left, they took their information with them. And when they passed away or whatever, sometimes people will donate the information to DAR, or maybe it gets passed down and those individuals have it and take them with them to wherever they live in another state, whatever the situation is. But you want to make sure that you always check out all of the entries, because again, if I didn't, I would have missed out on this genealogical gem. So when it comes to the GRC sets, the actual published volumes, the DAR library is the actual only location where they're all available for the entire country. We have every single volume. Now, there are many state societies and organizations within the DAR, and they've placed copies of these GRC reports in libraries in their own state. I know in Maryland, like the Keithy Library has some, the Baltimore County Genealogical Society has some, the Maryland Historical Society has some, State Archives has some. You just, the whole collection isn't going to be there. They're kind of hit or miss, but they vary from state to state. Now, some of these state collections are complete, and while others, like I said, they're fragmented and they're held in different locations. The DAR library does not have an inventory of all of those state materials, and we do not have an awareness of where all of these sets were actually located. They did not track that information. So keep in mind that the series and the volume numbers, they might be different than what's actually listed in the GRC index. But, take a look and see what you can find anyway. Just thumb through the volumes. The Genealogical Society of Utah actually filmed a portion of the GRC reports and the sets and volumes. So through this project, some of them can actually be found online, like at the Family Search website, specifically in their catalog. However, similarly to the state collections, they may not have the same series and volume number that's held in the version at our national headquarters in the library. Now, for resources focused on the Revolutionary War, the DAR has compiled a collection of sources, primary sources specifically, and research guides. I've actually provided one of those Revolutionary War user guides in the handouts for this evening. And to access the Revolutionary War database in the GRS website, again, under the GRS on the DAR homepage, you're going to select the Rev War heading for a direct link to the Revolutionary War records page. Now, this collection consists of 6 pages, or mini databases, as I like to call them. 250 for the 250th. We have Patriots Records Project Index, and then we have the Revolutionary War Pension Index. Further down on the page, we also have Patriots of Color, Forgotten Patriots Research Guide, and then a DAR Revolutionary War Grave Marker Index that's available. Now, the 250 for the 250th records, it's a brand new set of documents, and we just put this together recently. It illuminates the important contributions of underrepresented patriots to the cause of American independence. So, as part of the National Society's commemoration for the 250th anniversary, it does contain African-American patriots, Indigenous patriots, female patriots, French-Canadian patriots, and patriots with Spanish service. So there are currently 280 plus patriots that have been identified and placed in this database. So if that applies to any of your lineage, you might want to take a look through that database. The next mini database is the Patriot Records Project Index, and it contains every readable name in numerous Revolutionary War records. Now, the documents span over 75 years, and they start at the very beginning of the Revolutionary War through the last petitions for remuneration. I can never say that word, sorry. The online collection currently consists of records from the 13 original colonies and states, as well as some of the newer states, specifically Maine, Vermont, and Ohio. The collection also includes some French and some of the Spanish records, and over 500,000 documents have been indexed, and millions of names of patriots are now searchable through that indexing effort. The next mini database is the Revolutionary War Pension Index. In the years prior to the availability of the federal Revolutionary War pensions on microfilm and those that are now available online, the DAR staff genealogists and volunteers actually went to the pension office and the National Archives to abstract, type up, and index thousands of pension records needed to prove Revolutionary War service of pending ancestors for prospective members. Unfortunately, they did not abstract every pension. This digitized index, it's still important despite the availability of all these published online versions on other websites. It not only includes the name of the pensioner or the widow who applied for pension, but also the names of other people mentioned in the pension papers. So if someone swore an affidavit stating they served with this person during the war, and they were aware of the applicant's service during the war, there might be mention of them in there. Also, a lot of times when these people testified for other individuals, they actually highlighted their own service as well. We found instances where females actually made bullets at local forts, and they were there with their husbands, but they ended up getting recognized for that service to the American cause because they were mentioned as somebody else's pension record, and it was found. Now, Patriots of Color. This is a database of names of individuals from a wide variety of origins and backgrounds. So African, African American, Native American, Latin American, etc. The database highlights the important contributions that these individuals actually made to the American cause for independence. And then we have our Forgotten Patriots Research Guide Index. And this actually contains 2 guides, and they are free. They are available as PDF downloads. So I recommend that you go out and get those if they're of interest to you. It lists the names of African Americans and Native Americans who supported the cause of the American Revolution. And the goal of those guides is to enrich the history of the American struggle for independence and illustrate these individuals' efforts and thousands of people who actually helped to achieve that goal. The original guide, it's 874 pages, and it was published in 2008. And the supplemental guide contains 82 pages, and it was published in 2011. So if somebody was just recently discovered and recognized in the last 15 years, they're probably not going to be listed in here, but it is a good starting point for us. Now, the DAR Revolutionary War Grave Marker Index. This index is a collection of information about Revolutionary War patriot graves that have been marked by DAR with DAR markers, government headstones, and other markers. Some have been reported by DAR chapters. They've gone out to cemeteries and made note of these. This is a searchable form that enables you to search by surname, the marker city, the county, the state, the chapter name, the state, the record type, whether it's a marked patriot grave, is it a historic marker, is it a located patriot grave that somebody found, but they're all notated there, and you can search by those categories. The Bibles, it's probably one of the most talked about collections at DAR. And to access the Bibles database, again, after you select GRS on the DAR homepage, you're going to select Bibles for a direct link to the Bible records and transcriptions page. And the following page is going to load. And you're going to see that this collection contains over 84,000 family register entries from Bibles. The search form on this page allows you to search and identify Bible pages. At the present time, the images aren't available for viewing outside of the DAR library or the Science Technology Center. But when you're searching, keep in mind that the entries are based on the original surname found in the family register. Now, each register can actually contain many other surnames, because when family members married, they married someone with a different surname, and the Bible was passed down to children, and it, you know, got passed along over time. So there could be a lot of different surnames in there. If you do not find the surname you're looking for, you're going to want to go back and check the GRC tab, because the GRC tab, that database is actually an every name index to the entire GRC collection, and those entries will be in there by name, and you'll be able to find them that way. To order copies of Bibles and transcriptions, you need to contact the DAR Library's search service, or again, you can go to the Symes Technology Center. Now, to access the resources database, after selecting GRS on the DAR homepage, you're going to select the resources heading for a direct link to the resources page, and it's going to load and look like this. The resources tab includes links to our DAR Library Analytical Card Index, the DAR Marker Engrave Location Index, the WPA books, and the DAR Magazine Archive. Now, the resources tab also includes links to DAR's recommended genealogical websites. I'm going to start by looking at the Analytical Card Index. This was compiled by the library from the 1920s to about the early 1970s, and it draws on county histories, DAR committee reports, genealogical publications, anything that can help unlock information buried in historical studies. And these cards in the index were later digitized to preserve the legacy resource and improve searchability, make it a little easier to search. However, it's now an inactive project, and it no longer reflects the current holdings, but some of the listed materials might not actually be available any longer at the NSDAR library. And regarding the library, I should tell you, if you like to search or use WorldCat, you're not going to find any entries for the DAR library prior to, I believe, about 2018. So if you search WorldCat, you won't be searching the DAR library catalog. I recommend that you actually go to the DAR's website, to the DAR catalog directly, and you use the finding aids that are located there to understand how much is actually available through the DAR library. But let's go back to our analytical index cards. To use the index, you're going to select the letter of the topic or the surname you're interested in. So if I were looking for information on the Lloyd family, I'd select the letter L. Next, you would actually select the double letter or the first two letters that correspond to Lloyd. So if I click on LL in that section, it's going to help me narrow it down. And then I'm going to narrow it down even further by selecting the first three letters that correspond to Lloyd. So we're going to select LLO. Now, the following results actually going to show up on my computer screen, and the first card in the index is going to start with LLO. Now, this might not be the individual I was looking for, but it drops you to the first card with that combination in the letters. So you can click on the appropriate arrow, and you can actually move your page forward or backwards until you locate the entry or the individual that you're actually seeking information on. But some of these cards, even though they're not available in the library, they might give you a clue about what the information is, or, oh, there's a will. She had a will. I can go there and look. And it tells you it was in Chester County, Pennsylvania. So it might give you a clue of where to go and look for the information. Next, we're going to talk about the DAR Marker Engrave Location Index. Now, this index is the same collection that you can actually access on the Revolutionary War page of the GRS. It's a collection of information about Revolutionary War Patriot graves that have been marked with DAR markers, government headstones, and other markers that got reported by DAR chapters. The searchable form enables you to search by surname. You can search by marker city, county, state, country, chapter name, state, record type, marked Patriot grave, historic marker, located Patriot grave, whatever type of record it might be. You can narrow it down. You can play with a combination of those and see what kind of results you get if anything's out there for your ancestor. Now, the WPA books. This is the Works Progress Administration, and it was renamed in 1939 as the Work Projects Administration. It was created by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and it actually helped increase the number of jobs in the country to combat unemployment after the Great Depression. So one of the WPA projects is the Historical Record Survey, and these include the inventories that you find in courthouses, archives, libraries in various states in the United States. And these projects describe the collections available in those repositories between 1935, when the program began, and when it was dissolved in 1943. So anything that's been in the courthouse since 1943, you're not going to find. But if it's before then, you may find it in these books. So once you select a project or you enter a keyword and click search, a window will open within the results. And so you're going to select a project here on the Browse by Project tab. Or you can search by keyword search. And once you click on something, you'll get some results. So here you can see that I clicked on the Wisconsin Historical Record Survey, and these are a list of books that were originally part of that survey. You can view the book outside of the DAR website or within the DAR website. So the books that are available via the external site, where the red arrow is, you would click on that button. Most of those direct you to Family Search because they are digitized on there, but sometimes it's archive.org, Hattie Trust. There are a bunch of different websites out there that have books or have been microfilmed. But if the book isn't available anywhere else, DAR has actually taken the liberty to digitize the book, and you can actually open it right on your screen at home, and you can click the green button and click View Book and see it. Another collection is the DAR Magazine Archive. This spans the period of 1892 to 2024, so it's a big time frame. But it contains numerous articles related to the DAR's founding tenets of historic preservation, education, and patriotism. And to navigate to a particular issue, you would click on the corresponding decade, and then the corresponding year, and finally the corresponding month or months. So if you want to search for a particular topic or an individual, you'll use the search box located at the top of the DAR Digital Magazine Archive page. So if I wanted to search for information on my Calvert ancestors, I would type Calvert into the search box and click the green search button. And the following window will actually appear with all the magazine items that contain the word or are regarding a Calvert. So if you see one that you would like to download and view, you can simply click the blue arrow to the right of the corresponding entry and follow the prompts. The recommended online resources tab, I think this page is pretty self-explanatory, but it lists noted online resources that have been used by our genealogical staff and other staff members at DAR. So these are ones that they do recommend for people to go and to check out. Now, let's talk about additional resources outside of DAR's resources. Ancestry.com. You can actually, they have a large collection, and you can find a number of resources there, but I'm only going to mention the top 5 as they apply to the Revolutionary War that I think would be helpful for you to search for your Patriot in and to learn more information about them. So let's take a look at those. The U.S. Revolutionary War pension and bounty land warrant application files from 1800 to 1900. These actually span over 80,000 files, and it's arguably one of Ancestry's most genealogically rich collections. It includes applications from veterans, their widows, their heirs, and these documents frequently have information that isn't available elsewhere, like marriage dates, names of children, birth dates. People often refer to Bible entries, with their surviving heirs' names. Or I know when I was born because it's in my father's Bible, and this is what it says. There's a lot of information in these pension records, so read through them. It does help to transcribe them because it really makes you focus on the words, and you do have to go through them page by page, but you will learn a great deal about your ancestor or their widow or their heirs. The next collection is the U.S. Revolutionary War Rolls from 1775 to 1783. It's about 425,000 records, probably a little bit more than that. And it includes muster rolls, payrolls, inspection returns. It provides specific dates when the ancestor was with their unit or if they deserted. You'll find that out as well. One of the TV shows that I consulted for, the ancestor actually ended up deserting and he went back on the ship with the British Army to England. So it was very interesting, but you'll find all that kind of information in these records. Another collection that you can check out is the U.S. compiled Revolutionary War military service records from 1775 to 1783. Now, those are card abstracts, and they actually trace your ancestors' specific unit, their rank, and the length or duration of their service. The U.S. Revolutionary War Miscellaneous Records Collection is a manuscript file from 1775 to about 1790. It contains over 35,500 records, and it's actually related to military operations. So the settling of their accounts, any supply requests that they made, if your ancestor was an officer or held a high position within the militia, you may find something in here related to them or whatnot. Or if you're interested in history, it's very interesting reads sometimes. The Maryland Revolutionary War Records. If your ancestor is actually connected to Maryland, you're going to want to check out this collection. It is highly relevant. It contains over 3,000 pension and bounty applications, along with 1,000 marriages of Maryland soldiers, and the list has 1,200 proved services of soldiers and patriots from other states. So take a look through it and see if your ancestor is in there. Moving on to Family Search. Again, I'm going to do the same thing with the Family Search website, but Family Search is located at familysearch.org. And I'm going to give you their top databases to look at for Revolutionary War records. They have a Revolutionary War compiled service records set from 1775 to 1783. This is an extensive index, and it's an image collection of National Archives records, and it details the military service of soldiers in the American Army, and it includes the rank, their unit, and the period that they were enlisted. The next collection is the Revolutionary War pension and bounty land warrant applications. These run from 1800 to 1900 roughly. It contains federal files of veterans and widows who applied for pensions for land warrants. These documents, they actually have a lot of rich biographical details and family information and testimonies as to why their ancestors served and why they should get bounty land, or sometimes they're just given bounty land for their service. So take a look through this collection. The Revolutionary War Rolls, again, similar to Ancestries, it runs from 1775 to 1783, and it has images of payrolls, muster rolls, the service returns, and these are primarily arranged by the state and the military unit. So they're going to be essential for tracking when and where your ancestor lived and served. The rosters of the Revolutionary War soldiers and sailors. Now, this is a compiled collection of statewide rosters, such as the famous Massachusetts soldiers and sailors of the Revolutionary War and Virginians in the Revolution. So these are books that were published, and they were published by those states, or by the historians in those states. So very good information. You may find it listed there, but you may not find the record any longer because it was destroyed, missing, got lost in a move, storage, burned in a fire, who knows? But you might want to check those collections and see if your soldier is listed there. The last index I want to talk about is the Index to Compiled Military Service Records of Revolutionary War Soldiers, Sailors, and the members of Army staff departments. Now, this is a comprehensive alphabetical index, and it actually has soldiers, sailors, and civilian staff, such as teamsters and cooks, who contributed to the war effort. So if your ancestor cooked for George Washington at Valley Forge, they're going to be in this database. Next, I want to talk about Family Search's wiki files. If you're not familiar with the Family Research Wiki, you can go to Family Search's homepage. and select Research Wiki in their search drop-down menu. Now, if you know the county and the state your ancestor was from, this should be one of the first stops that you make for researching them, and use this Family Search Wiki page. The site contains links to genealogy databases, websites, other resources, research strategies, and genealogical guidance to assist in the search for your ancestors. So in the search field, you can enter the county name, comma, followed by the state, and the word genealogy. Here, we're going to put in Harford County, Maryland, genealogy, and then I click the gray search button. And this is the results that we get. And there's so much helpful information on this page. When I scroll down on the page, I can actually view dates that Harford County began keeping government records for births, marriages, deaths, court land, probate, and census. I can see that some of the county records were actually destroyed in a fire in 1858. So if you've been searching for records and those records were prior to 1858, they may have been destroyed and they might no longer exist. So if that's the case, that'll give you some helpful resources for burned counties to look through, what to do when the records are gone, other things that you can check. So there are other resources here and recommendations for you. Additionally, if you've been trying to locate Harford County records prior to 1773, well, they didn't exist because Harford County wasn't even created until 1773, and it was actually created from Baltimore County. So you need to search Baltimore County's records prior to 1773. So some borders changed frequently, and this will let you know where the borders changed and how they changed. The bottom line is your ancestor's land, it didn't move, and your ancestor likely didn't move. The border changed. So before you spin your wheels and you waste your time, make sure you're looking in like the correct area for your ancestor. So always be sure to check out the Family Search Wiki when you're conducting your search. Moving on to the Maryland land records. To access the land records, you need to go to mdlandrec.net. And this is what that page looks like. At mdlandrec.net, a login needs to be used, or you can create a new account. Using the new account application form, you would click that link there. And there are helpful search guides available as well, and you can click there and look for those as well. Now, if you select the county in the drop-down box in the top left corner, and then you select indices at the top, you will see the various indices that are available. And you can use the index to find the book, the volume and page number for the record that you actually want to view. So you can see the list of historical indices that are listed below that are available by grantor, grantee. And some are original, some are copies. So you might want to take a look in both of those, see if you can find one of your relatives there. Once you have the book and the page number, you're going to click Home up here on the top left, and you're going to type in the book. If the book is L2, you're only going to type in the number 2. Type in the page number. So if I wanted to look at page 354, I would enter that there, and then I'm going to click the gray jump button. And then we're going to get a list of results. So because there are multiple volumes that actually have the number 2 in them, you're going to want to review the description column here, and then you're going to select the accession number to the right of the book that you want to view, and you're going to click enter. So the record that I was looking for, it loads, and then you can read the record from here. You can print it, you can download it, and you keep in mind that the records are in cursive. So if you're younger or you didn't learn cursive in school, you might want to ask someone who can read it and help you transcribe the record for you, especially even in the old style of writing. Some people have trouble with it if they can read cursive. So, some of the writing is atrocious. Some of it's very neat, but it takes some time to read. So really focus on them and see what you can find and extract from there. The Maryland State Archives has a number of resources, and you can go to their website. You're going to want to go to msa.maryland.gov, And from the State Archives homepage, you can click Find Records. Once you click that, you'll see that a bunch of options load. And here you can see there's special collections. You got the all reference and research topics. Let's look and focus on the special collections first. Now these are records that were acquired as gifts or deposits by private donors to the state archives. And there are things like personal letters, diaries, organizational records, newspapers, photographs, maps, documents. You're going to find all kinds of things here. So you're going to want to check out their special collections. You click on the various tabs and follow the prompts in the boxes to search for the information that you're looking for. Religious records, that is a separate category, a separate tab, and you will want to check that out because in the state of Maryland, marriage licenses weren't required until much later, and people couldn't have civil marriages, so they actually had to get married in the church. So a lot of the records that you're looking for are going to be in church records, and there is a collection here, so you're going to want to take a look at those religious records and see what's available. A lot of them you do have to view at the state archives, though, on their search room computers. I will warn you, but they're very, very helpful. To view records that are not in the special collection, you're going to want to go to that all reference and research topics page. And here you're going to find helpful information like birth records, marriage records. They have an African American resource guide, death records. You can view indexes for all of the vital records, and some records are viewable on the State Archives website, such as birth records older than 100 years, death records greater than 10 years, etc. You may need to go to the State Archives research room to view the documents. They have computers there, as well as archivists and volunteers, and they are very, very helpful, friendly, extremely knowledgeable. Highly, highly recommend them. Can't say enough good things about them. Some of these records are also available on archive.org via Reclaim the Records, Maryland State Archives collection. Reclaim the Records is an organization, and they won under the Freedom of Information Act, a lawsuit that they had filed, and Maryland complied and gave them 5 million records. So there's over 5 million Maryland records out there that are available on their website to search. There are a few nuances with these records, so I recommend that you have someone who is familiar with them and how they're organized teach you how to find these items in the particular collections, because it can be very frustrating. You could be searching all day for a needle in a haystack if you don't know how to do it. And that concludes our presentation. And if anyone has any questions, I'm going to send it back to Pam and we can answer a few questions.
So first off, Bobbi, such a comprehensive presentation. Really appreciate all the details. Take a deep breath and get a drink of water. give yourself a moment there. There are still lots of people hanging on here. We have lots of questions. I do want to reiterate that this performance was recorded. It's going to be available along with those handouts on our website, hcplonline.org, on the universe page for the next few weeks. And you also will get an email with that link. So people have been asking for the handouts throughout the presentation. I want to make sure they know they can get those. So you're ready for some questions?
Sure.
Okay. And these are, of course, chronological to when you gave your presentation. What technically makes someone a patriot from the Revolutionary War?
Anybody who provided service to the American cause. Now, those services could be military. Obviously, if they joined the militia, fought, served in any capacity in the Army, the Navy, the Continental Line, what have you, that qualifies. Civil service, if they were a juror, a judge, they served as a governor, served at the state level in some capacity. Anytime during 1775 to 1783, that would qualify for civil service. Also, there's patriotic service. Now, a lot of women actually qualify, and Maryland DAR actually did a collection of women who paid supply taxes. Now, these were taxes that were collected by the state that actually went to fund the war effort. So if the woman was a widow at the time and she actually paid taxes on the land for her husband or for her children, because she inherited the land, then she would qualify as someone who contributed to the cause for American independence with patriotic service. Now, these also could have been people that donated horses or food or supplies to the army, uniforms, clothing. There's all kinds of things that actually qualify, but you need to be able to prove it. So if your ancestor sowed something and then went to the county court and asked to be reimbursed, or to the town minutes in some states like Massachusetts or in the Northeast, they have these things recorded in the town minutes. And it might be that the woman actually sewed the uniforms or sewed shirts or did something, blankets, something to give to the soldiers, but she would be recognized for service. And if her husband received the money on her behalf, it will be notated sometimes. So sometimes it might go to the husband too. So
Lots of great
and if they took the oath of fidelity as well, I do need to say that the oath of fidelity, to the American cause, then that qualifies as well.
Fantastic. The next question is early on, I think when you were talking about simple searching.
Mhm.
And the question is, wonder if the data files are available to researchers if the comment is not clear enough. That makes
If the
sense to you?
comment, yeah, if the comment is not clear enough, I recommend you reach out to the DAR, to your local chapter, specifically to the chapter registrar. She can usually get that information. It's not available to her readily, but she can contact those of us at National that have access to that information. And we can look in the file and kind of give her a synopsis of it. We're not going to give it word for word, but there have been times where people have mistaken individuals with the same name. There was an individual named William Stewart in the state of Maryland, and somebody tried to claim him as her patriot and saying that he provided service. Well, his land got passed down from him to the great granddaughter, and there's no way she would have gotten that land in that exact same specific tract that's detailed in the deeds over and over again if she was not his descendant. But it was just a coincidence of somebody with the same name. So that information would be in that data correction file, and like they would be able to explain that to the registrar, who could then explain it to you. But it's not going to be information that you would ever necessarily see unless you are a staff genealogist at DAR.
Very good. This was also when you were talking about simple searching. Can you use wildcards in the search field?
Yes, you can use wildcards.
Okay.
And if you're unsure of spellings, please do.
Yeah. The question is, would Louisiana be found under Spain?
Prior to 1781, 82, somewhere around there, yes, it's under Spain. After that, it is under Louisiana territory. So you're going to need to like try a couple different search options and see what you can find.
How long does it typically take for an application to be approved?
Typically 6 to 8 weeks. We do have some new staff genealogists that we hired. So some of those times, depending on the time of year, it can be as short as 4 weeks. It can be as long as 10 to 12 weeks. And I will tell you right now, we are seeing an increase in applications with the 250th anniversary. A lot of people want to find out who their patriot is or recognize their patriot. So, it might take a little bit longer, but the registrars do track that information for you when you apply. So they will keep you up to date on where it stands in the queue.
Very good. Under additional search options, recent, how many searches does it hold before it clears?
I can't give you that exact number from personal experience. I know I can see about 10 to 12. I don't think I've ever searched for more than that.
Okay. Next question. What is the current cost of a supplemental?
A supplemental currently is $75. When you submit a supplemental application, you do get listed in that descendants listing under that ancestor. So you will show up in the descendants database. But I will tell you, there is another option that DAR came out with a couple years ago. It is called the Inheritance Project. And my mother is a DAR member, for example, but if I wanted to pay $50, I could get all of her patriots that she applied and had recognized. They could be I could get the Patriot pin and recognize the ancestor, have the ancestor bar, but I'm not going to be listed in that descendants listing. But she is, because she's the one that paid for it and she submitted that application. Now you can only go back. Right now, it'd have to be you, your grandmother, or your great grandmother. Beyond that, you can't inherit Patriots. But for $50, you could inherit them if you don't care about not being listed in the descendants listing, But if you want to be listed, submit the supplemental, pay the $75. And supplementals take about, right now, 18 months to get approved.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for being honest with us. Next question. Does the GRC search include portraits of ancestors?
Portraits? No. We don't have like any personal like pieces of furniture, photos of that got handed down, anything like that. So any portraits of your ancestor, no, it's not going to be there. If there is a publication that somebody submitted, a family member put together and they have a picture of your ancestor in that publication and they had submitted it to the DAR library and they have it, that's where you're going to find the portrait. But aside from that, no, we're not going to have portraits unless they were, recognized daughter or somebody, President General, perhaps. But other than that, no, they're not going to be in any of the collections.
Very good. Are the GRC results affected by the closing of the library?
No, they're not. What you see in the GRC, you search for at home, it's not affected. The only thing that's affected is the actual books and publications in the library. All of that has been moved off site. So the library can get updated and things are going to get moved around and what have you and be all nice and shiny and new. But again, you can go to the Symes Library and you can see everything digitally there, and there will be people there to help you. So don't feel like you're going in there blind and you're not going to be helped. They'll be more than helpful, and they'll show you how to get on the computers and like how to get the document that you want, look for it, print it out, or what have you.
Okay, here's a customer question. It's a little bit more detailed. I'm documenting for SAR membership, and I have an ancestor, Thomas Gates, born June 29th, 1753, was listed in the fourth report of Daughters of the American Revolution, 1901 to 1904, and in the same Revolutionary War burial index with the same name and birth date, but he does not appear in the digitized databases that you shared tonight. Suggestion?
Yes. He may not be in the database because no female has applied under him. He may be a recognized SAR Patriot, though. You might want to check with your SAR registrar, your local registrar for the chapter. But I would recommend going out to Fold 3 and looking at their Revolutionary War collections, Ancestry.com. Go see in those Revolutionary War records collections that I mentioned. See if you can find a muster roll. See if you can find the actual service. You want to get the original service and try to document that. I will say that SAR's application requirements are not the same as DAR's, and I don't want to speak to those, but I always recommend going out and finding the original record. So go find that original muster roll and find his name on it and submit that as proof of service.
Excellent. Can you expand a little on the Canadian Patriots?
French Canadian Patriots are not my area of expertise, I will say that, but we do have a number of them. There's a specialty research team at DAR who can help you with those Canadian ancestors and what services actually will be accepted for them. And they do also have a list of resources. If you go on the DAR website and you look at specialty research, search for that, you'll get a page and it should direct you to the French Canadians, and there's a bunch of information there. So I highly recommend that you go there and you read that.
Very good. Next question. How do I submit a correction in DAR records? Death of an ancestor was not recorded is not correct. His death was actually 9 years earlier, and death reported was the date of his nephew with the same name.
Okay. So you cannot just submit a correction, unfortunately. If you would like to correct it, you or a female would need to apply to the DAR using that lineage and you would need to submit the necessary documentation to overturn what is in that database. So you would need to prove that it was the nephew, and then you would need to prove the correct date of death, and you do need to have the evidence to back that up and support it. And it must be primary evidence, not circumstantial. So just make sure it's a good source of information.
Does Pennsylvania have something similar to the MDLANREC.net?
To my knowledge, no. Pennsylvania Archives does have a number of things that they've digitized. They have land warrants that they've digitized. Some of those are available on Ancestry. Some are available on the PA State Archives digital collections website that they have. But to my knowledge, no. A lot of those deeds and the records that you're going to find are going to be on Family Search. If you go into the Family Search catalog and you look up the county, state. So if you wanted to look at York County, Pennsylvania, you would put in York, Pennsylvania and hit search, and a bunch of options would come up, and they're all going to be under land. Land and property, I think, is the heading that they use now, but you're going to click that option and you'll see in there a bunch of entries. It could be publications that people have done, books, what have you, but you're going to look for the entry that says deeds, and then you're going to look for York County Court or the York County, I don't know, land office, whatever it is. It'll look official. It'll be like you'll be like, oh, that's a state or a local government resource. We're gonna look that one up. So use that collection. They have an index usually, and then they can go direct you to the deed book and page, and then you can download the deeds there. And sometimes they are searchable and do show up in their full text search results as well. So you might want to check that out.
Very good. Next question. My mother passed away several years ago, but have been very proud to be a DAR member. This may sound odd, but can she somehow be a DAR documented posthumously, since she is bloodline being documented from a SAR?
Unfortunately, no. If the person is deceased, they cannot apply as a DAR member, or any other relatives cannot apply on their behalf. The same if they were a member and submitted a supplemental and it's in the queue and they pass away, we're not going to recognize that Patriot, unfortunately, because they're no longer living. So if you have a living female relative and she's in the lineage, maybe she has a granddaughter or niece, something, maybe go through the lines some way. You can recognize the line. Like I said, if she has a granddaughter, then you can recognize her that way and have her in the lineage. But as far as a member or posthumously, no, we cannot do it.
If a document is in the GRC records and you want to use it to support your application, how does one list the document on the DAR application form?
Okay, if you want to use something in the GRC, you are allowed to cite one document on the application, and just one with like an internal documentation citation. The local registrar should know how to do that for the chapter. But to use it in an application, if it's more than one page, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to order the documents from the library services, get the records, and then you can submit them and they'll be cited rather appropriately on the application page. But unless you have like just one document that you want to cite, you're going to have to order them. That would be my recommendation. Plus you want to order them anyway, just to make sure it is your person, and it's definitely your person.
Right. Next question. Is there a counterpart to the DAR in England for those of us may have had a British ancestor during the Revolutionary War? Also, when a church closed down for the wedding, records generally get sent to the state or local archives?
So with regard to England, yes, we do have a chapter in England, and you can join as an associate member if you become a member of the DAR. I personally am a member of the Irish chapter and the German chapter. So you can join a couple of those and support those chapters. But there are chapters worldwide. So you can see what those chapters are on the DAR website if you want. And then the question about the church records, could you restate that, Pam?
Sure. When a church closed down, the wedding records generally get sent to the state or local archives?
Okay. It depends. Sometimes, yes, the collections went to the state archives. Sometimes they went to, like, the Methodist churches would go to the Methodist archives. Um, Pennsylvania has a Lutheran archives, and a lot of the Lutheran churches in the, like, Maryland, PA border area, they went to the Lutheran archives in Gettysburg. So, it's going to depend. You need to search for the specific church. Some of those records have also been transcribed in books and publications by individuals. So you might want to check and see if there's a book. I know I had somebody ask me about the one of the Methodist churches the other day, and it's actually available on archive.org. There's a publication, and they have records up till about 1850. After that, you'd have to go to, like, the local Methodist church and get the collections. I will tell you that the Baltimore area Catholic churches have actually had the records digitized, and they are on findmypast.com. So you could go there and search the Baltimore Catholic records that way. They have burials, confirmations, marriages, and births and baptisms. So you can look those up there. And in the handouts that I handed out, they're one of the sources under the Maryland online resources is a church records helper. And a lot of the Baltimore City churches have collections. So if you go to the website, you can click on the link there. They even have, like, a little cheat sheet for you. It tells you, like, marriages are pages like 100 to 150 in this collection. So you're going to want to go there and look. So kind of speed up your search for you. It's a nice little cheat. And then a lot of the other records, again, state archives, look at that religious records tab under their special collections and see. You might be able to go to the state archives and see a lot of the film reels that aren't available elsewhere. And the Maryland Center for History and Culture also has a good collection of churches across the state.
Thank you for that information.
Mhm.
This is the last question I have. Is the tech center inside the main DAR building? I've been to the DAR Library and Museum, so I'm familiar with the building, but never saw a tech center.
Yes. So when you walk in and you go through the little security scanner from the D Street side, sorry, the D Street side, for the public, you could talk to the guard. They usually will tell you if you go through the little past the guard desk and go to the right, down that hallway on the right hand side is the Symes Technology Center. It's, like, all the way down towards the end of the hall. But they'll be able to direct you at the guard desk. They're very, very helpful. So if you go to that museum entrance there, you went too far. The hallway is right before that. And again, you would just go down the hallway and it's on the right side, but the guards will tell you, and they usually give you a little visitor badge as well that you have to wear.
Thank you so much. I can say there's so many kudos in the chat. Everyone thought the information was just a wealth of knowledge that you gave us. We really appreciate the handouts, the talk. Want to thank everyone who joined us this evening. We had over 120, I think, people join us this evening.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that you should mark your calendars for our Family History Month programming. Registration's already open. We're going to have on October 13th, Joe Gajewski presenting Before the Boat, Exploring the Practicalities of Travel. On October 20th, Linda Debe is presenting Decipher and Analyzing Pre-1850 Census Records, Turning Tick Marks into People. And on October 27th, Peggy Jude is going to return with a follow-up from her program that we had back in January about AI. And this new class is called Organizing AI Research, Saving and Searching Your Best Genealogy Chats. So lastly, fill out that quick survey that comes right after the credits. We'd love to know what topics you're interested in. And we appreciate everyone that came this evening. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks again, Bobbi.
Thank you.
Good night, all.